Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Red Pill Diaries. I'm your host, Rashid, and I have my colleague and returning guest on the platform, Mike Mihajlovic. How is it going, my guy?
So far, so good. Too young to complain. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good, Mike. I want to jump right in it because I
Yep,
know
yep.
time
Let's
is
go.
what is going on because everything is being overshadowed by the impending regional conflagration
Mhm.
in the
In the
West
Middle East.
Asia
Yeah.
area. Before we address that, let's go to a forgotten war and what's
Mhm.
going on there, and that is the Ukrainian Russian conflict. What is going on right now on the battlefield, and why is it pushed back behind the headlines now?
Mhm. Well, what is interesting, I spoke about that a while ago. Russia is actually doing very slow progress, but it is well planned progress. Why? Because they don't want to risk too much. They're doing slowly but steady on multiple directions, multiple fronts. And what is happening actually, they're putting the pressure on the many different locations. And also, when Ukraine entered into the Kursk region and occupied portion of Russian territory, what happened? Everybody thought, especially on the West, especially those military experts, in the mainstream media, uh, they thought that now Russia is going to withdraw troops from the other directions of the front, and do everything just to liberate that as soon as possible. But what actually happened? It's ingenious move. They simply move a little bit back, let Ukrainians pour more troops, then they close the front and start to meticulously pounding those troops without any heavy reinforcements. So Russia introduced their well-trained reserves that they had anyway. So they didn't pull the troops from the other part of the fronts, or at least didn't pull large number, maybe the size of a few battalions top. So what happened? They're simply pounding Ukrainians with artillery, with a longer range stuff, and Ukrainians, because they now want to keep the territory, they got stuck in. The logical will be just to pull back, go back to Ukrainian
Mhm.
territory. But what happened? Zelensky doesn't want to do that because he wants to keep that portion of Russian territory as a bargaining chip that will never going to be used. And he now he's deep. He's simply it's like a live mud, like a moving sand. They're stuck, so they can't go back because that will be the obvious defeat. They will be defeated one or another way. But what is really happening? Russia is slowly but steady closing on the flanks and from the front. So they're pounding them from all sides. And Ukrainians, instead to pull back, they're bringing new reserves. So new reserves come, they replace the troops on that portion of the front. Those troops are very exposed to the attacks, and Russia is slowly, meticulously moving day by day, hour by hour. It's not like 100 kilometers penetration into the Ukrainian lines. It's just a few kilometers, up to 10 kilometers per day. But on that way, they are slowly grinding Ukrainian defense. They're grinding them to. They're destroying the manpower. They're destroying the equipment. And Zelensky's regime, they don't want to pull back. They simply don't want to pull back from that front line. That front is lost. Let's be clear. That front is lost. It's going to collapse sooner or later. But how costly it will be. So Ukrainians are trying to hold those lines, but Russia, because of much superior reserves, superior firepower, they decided they're deciding where they're going to attack. Once when they attack, for instance, on the north, they will simultaneously attack on the south. And now I think that there is a slowly but steady is going that bulge that Ukrainians actually still keeping. They're going to close it. So Ukrainians are either going to withdraw or they're going to be surrendered. But what Russia doing actually, they're not penetrating all the way. So to close everything, like close the news and tie the news, they're letting them they're letting them actually one direction so that they can retreat. But instead to retreat, Ukrainians are bringing the reinforcement. So they're bogged down in that. So it's perfect Russian strategy and on both operational tactical level. Time will tell anyway, but I'm expecting that it is going to drag for a while.
Mhm.
And of course, now attention of the world is on the Middle East. Why? Because you know who lives on the Middle East, and who is pulling the strings. So now Ukrainians are a little bit pissed off because all attention of the world is not anymore on them. There is
Mhm.
there are priorities that Western governments are going to do, and if they have to decide today who is going down the drain, Israel or Ukraine, I think that it will be 100% Ukraine. They will simply just pull the plug in. That's it.
Do you believe that this recent attempted incursion by Western special forces was a ploy to for sabotage in order to cause panic in the Russian forces so that they can redeploy to other areas to give an opening to some of the surrounded Ukrainian troops?
Yeah, I mean, those groups, Russians call them DRG, like a diversion reconnaissance groups. Special forces, yeah, their task is to penetrate into the enemy rear and try to, let's say, destroy some key objects, assassinate VIPs or something like that. There are many tasks, and recently, a few Americans and Canadians were killed in that stuff. Are they still regular members or just retired members? Time will tell, but it is a tactic. Try to sow the panic, try to inflict some casualties. But Russia is not. You see how Russia is doing actually that flexible defense. If, for instance, larger Ukrainian group attack, Russia will retreat on the flanks, that let them in, then close the three sides and pound those groups inside until they either surrender or retreat. So, but with this special forces group, yeah, Russia has, of course, special forces there, and it's on hand to hand or head to head combat there. Of course, they liquidate them very fast. And that point that Russia is going to withdraw from the other portion of the front just to secure one, it's not going to happen. It's just a wet dream of strategists, like armchair strategists in the West, and of course those experts in the mass media. I'm not going to name them, but you and your viewers know that very well.
It's crazy because this has been a wash and repeat cycle for the Russian forces, and NATO war planners seem they can't process that. They continue to go full steam
Exactly,
ahead.
because
Go
NATO,
ahead.
NATO always NATO fought against inferior forces. U.S. fought against far inferior forces. Look what happened in Iraq, Afghanistan. They never faced a peer opponent. So that's the reason why they trained Ukrainians to fight Russians, why they're using Ukrainians to fight Russians. And of course, all of those concepts that the Western powers, like massive firepower armor, yeah, that work against Iraq, who is which weapons and weapon systems are three generations behind. But in Ukraine, no. It simply didn't work, and now even they were going to put in the media that they are winning. The Ukraine is going to win peace plan. I would rather call it peace plan that Zelensky presented. Uh, it is simply not going to work. But Western powers they're trying to buy the time. They think that and they hope that military-industrial complex in the West is going to rise to start production like in World War II to supply allied Ukraine. But you know what? Who is going to produce that stuff on the amount that is necessary really to Ukraine? Nobody, because all production, all heavy stuff, all heavy industry, or let's say 90% of heavy industry is where? In China.
Mhm.
So it's over. It's over. They just need to. They just didn't realize that because there is still a lot of time, so that military-industrial complex can make money. Because when you look at in the U.S. hardware and how everything works, it's not about how that is going to perform in the battlefield. It is going to how much everything is in the matter of the price and the sales value. It is psychology of, let's say, an organization of those dealerships that they're dealing with the used stuff, used cars, used motorcycles, whatever. So it's simply the way how it's functioning. But when you have a peer opponent like Russia, it's not going to work. China even not didn't even start yet. And how US going to fight China with what?
Right.
If China turn off the taps, uh, what kind of goods are going to come to the states, for instance? Imagine just the ordinary phone. Yeah, this phone maybe cost in China how much? $100 to make, $50 to make, and they're selling for $1,500, $2,000. Imagine this phone to be manufactured in the States. How much is going to cost? First, you need to train the people to build this stuff, and it's going to cost you $10,000. Who's going to pay for that? That time of cheap labor is over. Done, finished. So the military-industrial complex is, of course, that they're going to make money because they're going to
So
milk the
also there's
taxpayers.
another connection. Just reading right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There was a delay. I'm sorry. There was a pause and there was a delay on my end. But I just saw something that was reported by Sputnik News maybe 4 hours ago, and it said Ukraine loses over 300 soldiers in Kursk region just in the past day. Now, and it's right here on the screen right here.
Yeah, 300 is not too much,
just
really.
The past day.
Yeah, if 300 dead, that is a lot. But 300 is they're losing between 600 and 700. Bear in mind that according to official Ukrainian information, more than 100,000 is absent without leave, so deserters. 100,000 men. They just ran away. They disappeared from the list. Who knows what happened with them? So, yeah, the casualties are really, really enormous for them. How are they going to replenish them? They're chasing people on the streets. No, who's going to go to Ukraine of those Ukrainians who are, let's say, in US or in Canada? Do you think that they're going to sit on the plane and just go there and fight and got killed in some fields? Who knows where? No, they will not do that. So Ukraine will be forced to mobilize even younger people from 18 to 25. And that will be end. That will be end of Ukraine. That will be end of the West, basically. And then Poles, Slovaks, Hungarians, Romanians, they're just going to walk in cooperation with Russia and split the country. So Ukraine will be probably, if anything left of that, it will be a little bit, few settlements along the Dnieper River, if.
And I was just looking at the number. I just put in size of UK Army. And so you said that there's over 100,000 Ukrainian military deserters. Yeah, that is larger. That's 25,000 more than the entirety of the British Army. So
yeah, British Army you can put on the Wembley Stadium. Entire British Army you can put on the Wembley Stadium. Yeah.
Well, Mike, why aren't they talking about this? There are more deserters out of the Ukrainian armed forces than the entirety of the British Army. And they haven't uttered a word about this.
Yeah. So when I said the deserters, the people who got the call from mobilization, people who left the units, who ran away, escaped. So total number. So if they have, let's say, 600,000-700,000 potential recruits now that they can pull, they can find 100,000 because those people disappeared.
Wow.
They're somewhere. They're not dead, but they're somewhere. And if you add on that, if you add casualties, like 200 dead or 300, I'm talking about the numbers. Let's say in Russian or Ukrainian terminology, if somebody is called cargo 200, it's dead. If somebody is called cargo 300, it's wounded. So Ukraine already lost 2 armies. Now they're fighting with people who served in the Soviet Union. In Soviet military, and that was 30-something years ago. So people are in their 50s or 60s. So if you and I, if we are in Ukraine, we'll be probably somewhere on the front line. It's sad. It's sad what is really going on there.
But before we transition to the West Asia, which is Iran and the Middle East, I want to ask you a question because I think most of the other sites overlook this. Recently, NATO, as Ukraine was losing more, NATO conducted one of the largest nuclear drills ever, and Russia followed suit with some of the most advanced, upgraded nuclear weapons just a few days ago. Was this a signal to the West that, hey, you cannot cower us because we have a larger and a more potent nuclear arsenal? So you need to put that back in the bottle.
Exactly. Somebody's rattling sabers, and then Russia start to rattle their own. And it's not those drills. They include like transferring warheads from the warehouses to the unit. So they just soldiers they just remove the ordinary or classic warhead and put the nuclear. So they practice exercising, launching them. They're exercising putting the coordinates and all that stuff. I mean that's routine, but with a message. And now Russia also has North Korea. Many will say, "Oh, North Korea, they don't have food," but we don't know what is going on in North Korea. Everything that we know is for some let's say people who escaped or whatever, but we really don't know what is going on there. And for North Korea, yeah, this is 25 million people with a, strong autocratic. They may call him dictator, but you know what? That guy. He doesn't give s or for anything, especially for the West. Nobody can scare him. And
Mhm.
now alliance with China and Russia, it's over.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the
So,
new world order, but not the one that U.S. Congress expected to lead.
but well, speaking of that, that's a perfect transition to West Asia. We see
Yeah.
that America is saying that she will back Israel, and we see that France had a part in these overflights of Israeli warplanes when
Yeah.
they attacked Iran.
Yeah.
Russia and China said that they will not leave Iran alone. So,
Of
if
course.
that is the case, where is this heading? Because Israel is in a tailspin economically and politically, and her military is about to break. The United
Yeah.
States is stressed globally because she's everywhere in everybody's business, spending all of what little resources that she has left. How will this play out in the Middle East and North African region between these different poles of power?
Yeah. So far, if you look like that almost state of war between Israel and Iran, it's like a boxers. So the first round, second round, out of 15 for the I would call that instead of a world championship, I would call that like a Middle East championship. You have 15 rounds, and what is really happening? We are now on the third round. So two heavyweight two boxers. One one is heavily supported by the U.S. because 70% of all ammunition is from the U.S. Then we have supplies of fuel, not even counting that which is not material like intelligence, electronic support. And the other side we have Iran that doesn't care, doesn't give a damn for the US. Iran doesn't want war. Israel, I don't know. They in the state of war constantly since they started 1948 and they when they expelled Palestinians. So yeah, and on the other side you have Netanyahu, who is I don't know how to. He's some kind of form of a democratic dictator to call that, because there are protests against him, but he is still firm on his position, and the background is very murky. So, U.S. is not ready to go against Iran. Israel is ready, but only if U.S. support them. So, or do the heavy work, heavy lifting in that. This Israeli attack actually they tried to hit. They tried the three waves, three waves of attack. They first tried to hit air defense raiders, stationary raiders, which are not big deal to hit. And Iranians, I think they already fixed them all. They're operational now. Israeli claims that they hit every target that they wanted, but you know what? Out of 9 ballistic missiles that they sent to Tehran, only 2 confirmed, but nobody knows where is the evidence. Where the evidence is photos of some buildings. They show few buildings, but that buildings can be anything. And you know what? When you're facing that kind of stuff, of course that you're going to pull and disperse your precious stuff somewhere else. That is normal thing. Nobody's going to wait with a full building of rocket motors or warheads, stacked on each other. Who knows when they loaded that on trucks and dispersed in the deserts, caves, or whenever. And now the ball is in Iranian backyard. So what they're going to do now? They're going to tease Israel. They're going to respond, but We don't know when. Somehow I'm thinking that maybe response will come on the 5th of November, symbolically, because you have the grand finale of that show that is going since 18th century, elections and that stuff, like a reality show. So what is the best thing for the reality show is that you put some little bit of fireworks on one of the proxies. But when I said proxy, actually, who is proxy to who? That's the question. We know that Ukrainians are proxy to the US and NATO, but is US proxy to Israel or Israel proxy to US? Questionable, really, really
You know,
questionable. And who is ruling? Who is dictating to who what they need to do? So
uh,
yeah, it will be now we will get into the round four, and it's getting to be more and more and more interesting. Of course, background diplomacy is working. Deals, please don't. If you attack us, we will attack you. But if we have to respond it because our population, so we have to hit something. Then we will let you to hit something else. Who knows? Those murky, very very murky businesses are going behind the scene. But if that round four that will come, if it's getting too hot with two boxers are going to be really emotional in all of that stuff, well, it is very very it is likely, not very likely, but it is likely that Middle East is going to explode. But Middle East is the powder cake for a long time.
Mike, I was thinking about how right before the meeting in Kazan
Hmm.
in Russia,
Yeah.
Israel started striking out in Gaza, Syria, and Lebanon.
Hmm.
And then I was thinking about right after the meeting concluded, they struck Iran, right?
Yeah,
Well, they didn't really strike, but they tried to strike Iran.
they
Let me
tried. Yeah, they tried. Yeah,
they
they
tried to
hit
strike
something. They
Iran.
hit. Yeah, they achieved
Yeah.
something, but
Yeah.
not what they expected.
And so I think that this was more a move, even though Israel did it, and where the United States led. I think I don't care what anybody said. I think this was the United States plan. I don't care what anyone said, and I think that this was a move by the empire to use Israel. And when I say the empire, I'm talking about the U.S. UK
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
empire.
fading
I,
empire.
I
Yeah,
I believe it was a move to minimize the attention of all the accomplishments that were made at the BRICS meeting as to
yeah,
downplay the merging of a new world and the collapsing of the old
yeah.
world.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I agree with you. It's there's indications, very very strong indication, almost finger pointing that something like this is going on. So what is really going to happen? As I mentioned, that November 5th, it will be like okay, El Grande finale. So maybe that is symbolically Iran is going to do something. Maybe not. Who knows? But they said that they selected 80 targets. What kind of targets? If I'm Iranian, I would hit the Israeli bases. I want those F-35s to burn. If I'm Iranian, so I will send 25, 30 missiles just to level those hangars. So plans exist. Out of those 80 targets, are they going to attack 5, 10, 20, 80? Some of them are soft targets, some of them are very hard targets. But they also have a ally, Hezbollah. So Hezbollah, they show how they can reach Netanyahu's villa. They slam drone into his house, which is taken from some Palestinians or Arab Christians before. But it is a very very interesting time. And when I mentioned a few times elections on the November 5th as a grande finale, nothing is actually going to change because it's not in interest, simply it's not in interest those who really rule the stuff. And if you want to see who is ruling the stuff, yeah, people who are in the shadow, people who pull the strings in military industrial complex, where the money is. So if they decide that it's going to be peace, yes, it's going to be peace, but it doesn't work for them.
Yeah.
So either who is going to sit in the White House is doesn't really important because there are those above the who sits in the White House who's actually pulling the strings.
Like Vladimir Putin says, when they run for president, they have these crazy ideas, and when they get elected, men in black
Yeah,
suits come and tell them what they can and can't do when
yeah,
they become
exactly,
president.
exactly,
Uh,
exactly. I mean, they have information.
um,
It's you.
if, if
Yeah, go ahead.
if I were Iran, Iran seems like they really want to get back at Israel, but they're trying to uh, do this without involving the United States when the United States is neck deep involved in it. So
Oh yeah,
if they want some plausible deniability, they should do to America what America did to them prior to Israel attacking America, prior to Israel attacking Lebanon and assassinating Nasrallah. The
yeah,
day before that took place, the United States attacked Iranian targets on the ground in Syria, and
yeah,
then the next day, uh, Israel hit hard Lebanese targets. So my
yeah,
thing is, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. There are a lot of proxies or a lot of allies to the resistance in Iraq and Syria. I would, and I'm not advocating war or violence, and I have to say this on YouTube because I know
yeah,
that.
yeah. Absolutely, me too.
Uh, but I would do the same. I would empower my proxies to take out strategic areas that are used by the empire before I strike
Yeah,
Israel
yeah,
because
yeah. So look
yeah,
in Iraq. Iraq is still occupied, and there's
yeah,
still U.S. Air bases there, or U.S. forces are there. When I said U.S. forces, it's when I mentioned U.S., it is simply who is ruling the stuff, and I separate that strictly from the ordinary Americans,
hmm
because I mentioned it many times in the previous interviews. There are hardly better people than ordinary Americans. So easygoing. But on the other side, U.S. government is completely different. No matter
yeah,
who is in charge. So people and government, they're two different things. And I see that a lot of on the social media, that a lot of, for instance, U.S. veterans, they simply had enough. They're fighting war. They're fighting wars. They fought wars not for the U.S. people, but for the interests of the companies, military industrial complex and oil and all of those companies. And once when the service is over, nobody cares
hmm
anymore for
yeah,
them. So it's simply, it's use and abuse. If they can do that to their own people, imagine what is going to happen with Ukraine.
right.
You just pull the plug, and the Ukraine is going down.
Mhm.
Now
But
Ukraine is investment, still investment, because those like BlackRock and those companies, they have they bought the land, they bought stuff, they want return of their investment, no matter how what price the others will pay. Middle East too. I mean, oil is still there. So imagine what is going to happen if Iran block the Hormuz Strait.
hmm
Price of the gas is going to skyrocket. Who is going to drive pickups? They have to pay $10 for a gallon, or or even more. It
hmm
was 1970s. It was something like that happened. I believe I was kid at that time, but there was a crisis in 1970s
but the
when
difference
the
this
yeah.
time around, Mike, the difference this time is that America does not have that booming economy that she had to shield her when
Exactly,
it happened, and
exactly.
she
There is
doesn't
no
have
service
the
economy. American
reserve.
economy is service economy. It's no production economy. There's not what is manufacturing in the states. I often, when in the store, when I see something proudly made in the U.S., proudly made. I mean, look, just ordinary things. For instance, clothing. I'm often comparing, for instance, what is made in Canada.
hmm
Yeah, we have 2x4, 2x2 drywall. Yeah, that is made in Canada. Hopefully, but because everything, all production is gone. Production is gone to some other countries for the cheap labor, so that companies can make more profit. But time is turning. Time is changing. Now we have that BRICS, which are now far more industrially competent. They have more production. There's GDP is much bigger than or not much bigger, but bigger than G7. So G7 is sinking, and
Mhm. Well, do you
European
think
Union.
that
Yeah,
speaking? Let me cut you off right there because that is a great thing to say because I want to ask you about that. Now that we see the G7
mhm.
in decline, which means that the United States and the UK is in relative decline. Do you think that is a part of what is making the U.S., Israel, and NATO more belligerent and continuing to push the norms of what is acceptable globally?
Yeah. It's going on that. It's going on that way. So, for instance, when Israel doing bombing, leveling cities, killing 50,000 people, many children among them. Yeah, it's like self-defense, but its standards are completely standards completely changed. That is the biggest problem. And now, what is hurting them is because some countries simply think that is enough. So one country can hardly change anything. It can only try to resist. I will compare like this. Let's take like a small like a branch. You that branch you can easily break it, right? So you break it on two, then take put those two together. You can break the two, but with a little bit more effort. Imagine if you have 20 small pieces. Can you break those 20 small pieces? No. So that is a comparison how number can make a strength. So big countries when they get all together, who is going to break them? Because they have natural resources, they have production, and they're not infested with all of those woke culture or whatever.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's
So,
the world is changing right in front of our eyes.
do you believe that the United States and the UK will just go quietly into the night? Because we're seeing the ramifications of their imperialistic policies in
Mhm.
Africa, in Latin America, in Eurasia, in Europe, and in Asia. And it seems like to me, the more wounded or the more they decline,
Yep.
the more
Yeah.
irrational they become, and the more
Irrational. Yeah. Yeah.
irrational their policies are.
Y- Yeah, exactly. I agree with that. Wounded beast is the more dangerous than the one who is not. And we have declined. The Western civilization is declining. You just go to the streets and you will see why it's declining.
Hmm.
You don't need to go to downtown on any American city or Canadian city or European
Hmm.
Western European city to see the changes. So yeah,
Hmm.
it's a spiral. It's spiral that is the Western civilization, unfortunately, is in spin. They stall, and there is almost no chances that they can recover for that stall. You know what happened with the plane when it stalled? It's crash.
Hmm. I
So
believe.
we Western world that we know is going to that direction. It is not going to go without fight.
That.
And who knows? I mean, if we have some lunatics in charge, we can have the like a global war.
Hmm. That's what I believe because
Yeah, and see, for instance, what Putin once said, not once, he's mentioned that several times. On the streets of Leningrad or St. Petersburg, he learned one thing: if you can't avoid the fight,
you
you
punch first.
yeah, just punch it, do the first punch.
Hmm. Hmm.
And they changed nuclear doctrine, so it was very easy. Now if they feel like in danger, they can respond. And you have China, you have North Korea, and Russia, and you will have Iran. Iran will become, if it's not yet nuclear power, but they're very close to do that. I believe that they have. It's already there. They probably have several nuclear warheads, but they're keeping that as a last resort. So, and who is going to supply like nuclear material? Russia can do that. So nuclear bomb needs 3.5, 4 kilos of plutonium, let's say, and Russia has thousands of kilos. So it's simply it's not a big deal to make that stuff. You just need a proper material.
You know,
And connected with that, if the fight is if you can't avoid the fight, then you have to strike the first to make a first punch. So
Yeah,
very very interesting time.
they were saying that I remember listening to the news, and the Israelis were saying that they may even escalate if push comes to shove to a nuclear strike. And then when the news interviewed the Iranian vice president, who used to be a foreign minister of Iran,
Mhm.
he said that he dismissed it, that logic of Israel, and he said whatever they use against, we will use against them. He didn't say that we would not use nuclear weapons. He intimated to the people that if they went
Yeah.
there, we would go there also. So we're
Yeah.
not going to be cowed by the threat of the use of nuclear
Exactly,
war.
exactly. So you can see like a small dots when you connect those small dots spread all around. You can get several straight lines. Then when you have then you have those lines, you see the that one at one moment those lines are going to cross each other. So if
Mm-hmm.
Israeli, they try to test how they can hit precisely, but some locations they've done on several one, but not exactly what they present.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is all of this is a part of the game. They're trying to do the stuff, they're exercising stuff, but we'll see how it will go. But it's important this time between November 5th and I think January 11th or whenever is the January 6th or 7th, whenever is that inauguration, it will be time when something is going to happen in the states on that political level, because US has a president which even he doesn't know is he about to come or to leave. So it's there is one expression that he so maybe he will be simply removed by somebody. We know who is that somebody, and it will be uh, somebody is going to create like artificial or maybe escalate wars so that administration may just stay. But next few months will be interesting, really really interesting. Oh, I can hear you.
Let's see. Okay,
Yeah.
two questions before you go. Two short
Okay.
questions.
Hmm.
One, do you ever? I'm gonna ask you a question that no one ever
Yeah.
asks.
Yeah.
So, do you think that Yugoslavia will ever reconstitute itself in some form or fashion?
No, no, I don't think so. I don't think so because Yugoslavia was just a test on the micro scale test how to break one multinational country from inside with dosed pressure from outside, and that was successful game. So they wanted to apply that game to Russia. They want to apply that game to China, but China and Russia they are not Yugoslavia because they're simply nuclear powers. And when you it was easy for NATO to bomb Yugoslavia. It was easy to break Yugoslavia to prove the concept. But to do that to China, Russia, or Iran, because Iran also has many different regions with the different ethnic groups. So divide and conquer. But that game maybe backfire because US also has a many different regions, different states, and that concept of dividing the other countries maybe even come full turn, full circle back. So we will maybe hopefully not. I'm just saying hopefully not. Everything will go nice and smooth. Common sense will prevail, but you never know.
Now, the final question is this: do you think that the Middle East, North African, or what they term as the West Asian region,
Mhm.
will will go into a full blown war before 2025?
I don't think so. I don't think so because there the situation is different than before, and everything will depend of one side. So if one side decide to make a decisive blow to the other side, then the other side, as we recently spoke a few minutes ago, this other side may respond, may make a full response. And some Middle Eastern countries, they're ruled by. I would not even call them oligarchs, like royalties, but I call it like a bakshish economy. So people who are going to make a deals with everyone just to make a profit from themselves. Nobody asking ordinary people anything in the Middle East. So it is the matter how that elite on any particular country is connected to, let's say, British uh, sources, like look, see Jordan and UK. You see you see the connections to Israeli and US, Israel and US. Then you have the Saudi Arabia. They're trying to balance. So it is a really it's a very complicated game. But I don't think that it will be any major war without some very radical move of one side. So who will
And
be
I'll
that?
say this, and I'll
Yeah,
let you.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
There's a delay a little bit. Someone in the question, and I'll say this, and then we'll end it. What will happen if Vladimir Putin is no longer president,
Mhm.
either due to old age or by choice? Are there any people of a similar caliber who are capable of replacing him and doing good by Russia and Earth? I mean, in the future.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's aging, so I believe that Putin will be at least for next 10 years. Then for that 10 years they're breeding politicians, they're breeding really people like Lavrov or somebody else like Maria Zakharova. So those kind of characters, not them directly, but those kind of characters which will put interests of their country first. And you see after the drunkard Yeltsin, how basically Russia was almost like a third world country. Putin brought that to the, I think they're now fourth economy for
Mm.
20 something years. So yeah, it is going to, it's not about one person, it's about idea. And they're trying to break Russia since Peter the Great. So for 300, 350 or something years. So Russia, always, there will always be those who want Russia to break Russia. And it will be in the next 100 years until Russia will really decide to break everybody else.
Mike, once again, thank you for joining me, man. I know you have
My pleasure.
another engagement you have to go to. I want to thank you from the
Yeah,
bottom of my heart, man.
yeah.
I really
You're welcome.
appreciate
You're welcome. Cheers.
it. All right, be safe. I'll send you the video.
Okay. Okay. Cheers.
All
Bye.
right, bye bye.
Okay.
Everybody,
Bye.
listen, everybody, hit the like button. We just had Mike Mihajlovic on the show. He is a former captain in the Serbian Armed Forces, and we wanted to get his perspective on what's going on in Asia and the Middle East. It's a good perspective, also, everybody. Listen, as the world is tumbling towards war, I want you to keep this in mind: to do right by others, not because other people are watching, but because it's the right thing to do. And even when no one else is watching, remember that God always has his eyes open and he's watching. Until we next speak again, stay strong, stay true, but above all things, stay righteous. Hey, Mom, I love you more than life. Deuces, everybody. We're out of here. Peace.